Welcome to the third episode of Life Without Cravings. Today I want to draw attention to the selection bias that our brains are prone to and how that affects us, especially when it comes to us doing what we say that we're going to do and whether we are able to stick with our decisions long term or not. And there's absolutely nothing strange about this. It's the kind of thinking that we have evolved to do. And we as humans are wired to do it this way. We are wired to look for problems and obstacles so that we can either avoid them or find solutions to those problems. And this is just one of those amazing things about the human brain that has allowed us to evolve into what we are today. So please don't think that there's anything wrong with your brain for doing this. It's just the way the brain is wired, and it is most of the time it's serving us really well. But in the kind of society that we are now, where basically we have a lot of things that aren't natural, that we have evolved into handling, things might go wrong. And one of those things is processed carbs that we just want to keep eating. So let's just imagine that no one had ever bothered about solving any problems. Then we wouldn't have figured out how to create fire or weapons or build houses or install heating systems in those houses, or maybe we wouldn't even have soft beds because we can't be asked actually making them. And we wouldn't have internet, we wouldn't have mobile phones or any of the luxuries that we have. So this kind of brain is really a good thing. It's just that we're not using it the right way. So we want to detect problems and we want to find solutions. And that is something that we as the human species are really, really good at. And I see this in all my clients, all my friends, all my family. So one example would be when my clients first come to me. Most of the time I would ask them why they want to quit. And they would usually give me a very long list of things that they don't want in their life that comes with the addiction. So they might not want to be fat, they might want to lower the blood glucose, either it's too high or it's just out of control. They don't want to feel tired anymore, they don't want to wake up and just ache all over their bodies, have stiff joints. They don't want to get heart attacks and die young, they don't want to feel like a slave to the carbs. All of these things that they don't want. And I understand that we don't want that. And they see the problem being the carb addiction, and the solution is stop doing it. And they literally had enough of the pain that the carb addiction is bringing them. And that's totally understandable, and I get it. But most of the time, they just want to get rid of all of these things, but they don't really know what's coming after that. So they don't quite know what would happen when they quit, what that would look like. They just imagine that that would be a better place to be without having any idea about what's actually coming. It's just the absence of all of the things that they don't want. Okay, so that's what our brains do. They want to get rid of that, and then we'll just see what happens. We don't really like to imagine things because we might get disappointed if that doesn't happen, etc. And our brains are just really, really good at seeing all the things that are not optimal. It's very rare that I have someone coming to me and just tell me all about their dreams and aspirations and what they want to achieve, and that being the reason for why they want to quit the carbs. And the reason for this is, there are several reasons, but one of the reasons is what I've talked about in the very first episode that I released 2 weeks ago. If you haven't listened to that one, you can go back and listen to it about the dream stealing. But also, our brains are not wired to want to do things that don't feel good in the moment. Eating ice cream feels really good in the moment. It's just not when we're thinking about everything else that comes with it. It doesn't feel so good anymore. But in the moment, it always feels really good. And when we are addicted to anything, whether that be food or something else, most of our thoughts will be around how to get our next fix. When can I eat again? What am I going to eat? How much am I going to eat? And then we have this battle as well. Well, I shouldn't. Yeah, but I want it. I've been so good. I really should have it. And we have all of this mind drama going on. And when you have a craving, your brain wants to fix that. So once again, it goes to the problem solving. How do we fix the craving? By giving in to the craving and eat whatever it is that we crave. And that is the only way of curing a craving, is to actually do the thing that we crave. And then we will feel more relaxed about it. That's just how the brain is wired, okay? There's nothing wrong with you for doing that. That's what the brain wants you to do. But you just need to take control over that if you want to change it. So the reason that we want to quit is almost always born out of a negative emotion that we want to avoid. Because we think that once we have quit, we will feel better. We'll be somewhere where everything is much better, obviously, because we're not eating the carbs anymore. So that could be like, when I'm no longer fat, I will feel happier. Or when my blood sugar is in control, I can stop worrying. Or when I wake up in the morning and my body doesn't hurt anymore, I will be content. All of these things, you probably have your own variation of that. But the bad news is that even if you manage to quit, you still have the same brain. And that is the brain that will want to find, and it will look for things that could be better. So there's always going to be something that your brain wants you to fix or problem solve. And this might sound a little bit depressing to you, especially when I'm laying it up like this, but there really is no arriving at this forever happy place. There is no such place. Your brain will make sure that you have new things to worry about. Your brain will always look at improving your life, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. We just have to manage our minds around that so that it doesn't get to us in a negative way, and turn it around into being something positive, that we can chase something that we really want that will excite us, rather than running away from the things that makes us feel depressed. So the best remedy that I know for this is to just have dreams, things that you want to do. When you do, you're going to feel anxious anyway. Let's say you can't run away from feeling anxious. Do you want to feel anxious while trying to quit because you don't want all of these negative things? Or do you want to feel anxious moving towards something that you really want? You're going to have to feel anxious anyway. Which path do you want to take? I mean, to me, the answer is obvious, but maybe it isn't for you. Because taking the path, chasing a dream, and feeling anxious about that is much more, it's an active choice. And we are making decisions that will make us feel anxious or fear or whatever it is, rather than just continue eating ice cream and pizza, which is still a choice, but it's not active. It just kind of happens. And then we take action to feel better in the moment. We're escaping from it. It's just a different source of where the anxiety is coming from. And then the result of that, when you're sitting there eating pizza and ice cream, you're going to be disappointed with yourself probably. You are not happy with how your life looks, what your life looks like, where you're going, etc. Whereas if you're chasing a dream, at least you have that dream and you have that excitement. And if you keep moving towards it, you will notice that you're actually getting closer, and that is motivating in itself. So it needs to be something that fills you with excitement, okay? Rather than feeling all these negative emotions without a reward that is waiting for you, because that's not very motivating, you want to find something that you can move towards, so that when you actually have quit, you can you have moved closer to your goal, and that will be rewarding and motivating. So let's say that you try to quit because being overweight is depressing to you, or you're scared of dying from diabetes. But when you cut out the carbs, that is going to make you feel pretty lousy. and you have no joy left because your only joy was eating those carbs. That's not really motivating, and your brain is going to work against you massively. It's going to throw a lot of craving fits your way and tell you why you should be doing and why you should keep eating the carbs. It's going to tell you that that is the only way for you to feel better, because there's nothing else that is worth doing, because nothing else feels good right now. Or when the scale hasn't moved in 3 days, your brain is going to be like, look, what a waste of time. You've done all of this, you put all of this effort in and nothing is happening. It doesn't even make you feel any better. Maybe you should just have a cupcake. Or when your blood sugar is still high after a week on a carb-free diet, your brain might be telling you, maybe this isn't the right approach. And maybe you should just have a bite of something to reward yourself for at least, trying and having put in all of that hard work. So you're going to have all of these thoughts. That's completely normal, because your motivation is to solve a problem that takes time to solve. And we rarely have the patience for this. So when it's not solved immediately, the brain will want to go to, this isn't working, we should really go back to what we were doing before, because that was comfortable, it felt good in the moment anyway, and we were still alive when we did that. So it's not that scary. We know exactly what's coming if we do that. And that's why a lot of people just drop their diets. That's why most people who try to change the diet and lifestyle fail. If you instead use something that excites you and fuels your commitment and determination, you are going to be able to look at all the little things that you've done along the way and see that all of those things are bringing you closer to your goal. And I really recommend that you go beyond something like being at my target weight as a goal, or getting control of the blood sugar, which is great, but I would want to encourage you to go beyond that and start dreaming about what you will do once you reach that goal. You don't want that to be the end point. You want something more exciting to be the end point, or the starting point of your new life, if you like. So why is it important that you get that thing under control, or you get the blood sugar under control, or you get your weight under control, or whatever it is? What is it that you think is going to be better or different once that problem is solved? Most people will be like, I don't know, I'll just feel better. That's not very motivating, right? It's not going to keep that spark going and keep you staying on track and keep you focused on your goal. You need to look beyond that. So, are there things that you have avoided doing because you're a carb addict that you really want to do? Like, start to dream a lot bigger. Even if you don't think that you're going to get there, it doesn't matter. If there's a chance that you can get there, you still have a goal to work towards. So just trust that once the addiction is gone, you will have the capacity to do things that you might not have thought that you could do, that you might not have thought were possible for you to do. Just trust that. And if you can go there, what would those things be? Maybe you want to start a business, but you don't have the energy and brain capacity to do that right now. Or you want to go on a really fancy holiday, but your current health status has made it really difficult financially. Or maybe you're even scared of traveling, because if something happened to you health-wise while you were traveling, you might be in trouble. Maybe you want to learn to fly a helicopter, but you're having some fear around that, or maybe you're not even allowed to because your blood sugar might drop while you're driving, and then that's not so good, is it? Or flying. Or maybe you just want to play an instrument. You always dreamt about playing some instrument, but your joints are just too stiff and you can't really use your hands properly, so you haven't been able to do that. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be something stupidly large. It doesn't have to be earth-shattering. It just has to be something that makes you feel happy when you think about it. Something that kind of excites you and lights you up when you think about it. Can you find your motivation in a different future where you can choose what you want to do? It's really fun to think about, I think. So if you haven't done that yet, if you don't have any plans or aspirations, I would really recommend that you go there and start thinking about what you could actually do. And are you able to use self-love as a motivation where you want to take care of yourself? Just because you are you, because you're worth it. Or simply just because you want it. You don't even have to go to the self-love. It's like, why not do something for you that you want just because you want it? No other motivation is needed. Just because it makes your life a little bit more fun. So the energy behind the motivation is really quite important. It's like the good old carrot and the stick. The stick doesn't feel so good, so you're much more likely to give up. If you compare, what will it feel like when you are able to manage your blood sugar and you book in for your first lesson to learn how to fly a helicopter, versus the feeling you get when you have been off the carbs for 4 weeks, your blood sugar is under control, and now you have to keep doing that for the rest of your life, probably. Otherwise, your blood sugar will go up again and you will be back to where you started. Can you feel the difference in those two scenarios? There is such a different energy. One is just born out of the joy and the freedom and the hope that, doing something that feels really good. Whereas the other one, straight away, okay, now I've gone through all of this and now I have to keep avoiding going back. I keep doing this that I didn't really enjoy because it was painful. I had to feel all those negative emotions to be able to get there. Not motivating. Why would you want to stay there? The only reason you want to stay there is out of fear of going back to where you used to be, rather than the excitement and motivation of doing things that you weren't capable of doing before or able to, or even things that you might not even have had the motivation to do before, because it is quite depressing when all you can think about is the food. So it's no surprise that most people want to go back to their old habits once they reach the goal, because the goal itself doesn't feel like a reward. It's only temporary relief, like I accomplished something and now what? So when you compare the negative emotions that you had while you had to go through the process of quitting with the joy and the freedom that you feel when you are in the air flying a helicopter, those emotions are going to be so much stronger than what those negative emotions you experienced are. And all of a sudden, probably doesn't feel so bad, because now you're having fun, you're living your dream, and that is a lot more important than eating the cake. Cake has nothing on flying a helicopter. So when you decide to quit, just try to do it from a place of feeling good. Let yourself just dream about what a future without the carbs would look like. What does your life without cravings look like? I know exactly what mine looks like, and I'm on a path to getting there. And I know it's going to take a while, but I'm still keeping that dream alive, going, and thinking about it every day probably. And I keep that in mind to stay motivated and to keep doing what I'm doing, because I want to get there. I really want to see what that looks like. And I bet that you have many suppressed dreams that you haven't even dared consider ever being a reality. Most people do. But I want to encourage you to just have another look and consider them as possibilities, no matter the obstacles that are in the way. And if you want help doing that, just send me an email. I can show you on the screen. Just send me an email to pim@pimjohnson.com, and we'll just get you booked in for a consult, and we can have a little chat about what it might look like, your journey, etc. I'll see you next week.